Welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity for Passions. And so today, Tim, what's our topic on what we want to talk about for passions?
We how to maintain passion. That could be passion for people, passion for a hobby, passion for work, passion for anything that kind of interests you. And so a lot of times when you enthrall yourself into passion, you gotta go through this honeymoon stage of how you're feeling because you're so hyped, you're ready for it, and you want to continue that. And so going through how to maintain that passion throughout your well-being of your life.
Nice. All right. So I would say the first step, what we want to do is we want to identify what we are passionate about and or have been passionate about. And so there's something called the passion circle. And so what you do is you go ahead and draw a circle. And then around that circle, you list everything you're passionate about and or have been passionate about in the past. So don't make it harder than what it is. Take whatever, 20 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, do it over a period of time. It can be, enhanced. And again, you can see, different creative things here, of what it is. Here's Sarah. I think she's 5 years old. And so in the center of our passions, so we have all the passions that we have. In the centers of our passions is our life vision. So, there's no two fingerprints alike in the world of the 8+ billion people. All the fingerprints are different. I believe that all the passion circles are different too. Like Kim and I have some passions that are overlapping of one another for sure. Like one of the passions that he has is for his nieces and nephews, my grandchildren. I'm passionate about them too. And he's passionate about them as well. So they can overlap, our passions can overlap, but he's going to be passionate about some things I'm not passionate about. I'm going to be passionate about things that he's not passionate about. When we discover in the center of our passions, so Sarah here is in the center of all of her passions. Her life vision statement is I'm here to learn and or to play and learn. Like, what a great passion, right? That sounds like I want one of those too. But she's here to play and learn. That's what she's been put on this planet to be. And at a 5-year-old, that's pretty good. So I think the first thing is listing out all the things we're passionate about. What's interesting about this exercise is how hard it often is for people to do. And so often people, they don't really know, they don't really see themselves. And so pretty much within 17 seconds of meeting someone, I'm able to identify their personality. Once I identify their personality, I can identify their strengths, weaknesses, what they like, what they don't, turns them on, turns them off, if they're married, who they're married to, conflict marriage. I know more about them in 17 seconds than they know about themselves. So a lot of our passions come from our personality, which seems to be very, very much governed heavily based on our DNA. So some of it, part of it is DNA, and then part of it seems to be environmental. And so, but our personalities between the two tests, the Geo and the Pain Quadrant test, there are 65,536 possible combinations. And so there's a number of different combinations that you can have, but based on these different things. And so which of these four shapes would you tend to like the most? A cube, a pyramid, a wavy line, or a ball? Which of these four things would cause you most frustration? Out of order, out of control, boring or not fun, or conflict? 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's a great app, and I'd encourage you to join that because it's like love. I think passion is like love. Like we have 7 kids and 8 grandkids and 2 more on the way. And so if you have, 8 grandkids, it doesn't mean that you have half as much love for each of your grandkids as if you had 4. And so I think the more love that we have, Tim, the more love we have to have. The more passions I think we have, the more passions we have to have. I remember when my 4 girls were young, and they loved watching Barbie and those other little girl movies. This was not one of the favorite thing that their dad liked. But on date nights that I have with them, when we started like at 2 and 3 years old, I would do things that they were passionate about, like watching Barbie. When people we love, it's weird, right? when people we love have passions, we will often pick up those passions and and our passions will start to, expand out because we're passionate about that person. And so then we become passionate about the things they're passionate about. So so step one in maintaining passions is know what passions we have, write them down, share them with other people, see where they, interact with one another. So see where they overlap. So take two people and write your passion circle and have somebody else write their passion circle. And then see where your passions, like it's cool to be passionate about something that you're not even interested in. Like that's just cool. Because then we can start to expand our brain and what we enjoy and those types of things. And then maintaining passions, I think it's very important to have a life vision. So my life vision, what I was put on this planet to do is touch every single person in the world, one person at a time, make a huge difference in every aspect of their life in a really fun and exciting way. And that's 8+ billion people. A friend of mine, Kenny Bontrager, I think he said his passion, he did a passion circle, and he said his passion is to care for people. That's a cool passion too. It's a lot simpler than mine. And so every one of us, when we figure out our life vision, and it can change, it can grow, it can expand, when we understand how significant we are, and I think that's where a lot of the mental health issues come into place, where our focus gets, kind of off, kind of wonky on us, where we feel good about things we shouldn't, and we don't feel good about things we should. And so for me, um, I believe that every single person is amazing. All 8+ billion people. I believe that God created every single person in the coolest, unique way. Like they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. Like when you think about that, 8 billion people on the planet, no two are created the same. So I think people don't see how amazing they are. And when when I come into somebody's life, often people have said, it's like you're the first person who's not only sees me as I am, but sees me for who I was created to be. And so I think that when we see who we were created to become, I think when we see that in other people, it's crazy cool how amazing that is. Like it awakens, something within us. I don't know, Tim, if we should play Lily's video when she was 3 that Jonathan created for her. It's the secret for what every woman wants out of a man. It's a really cool video. Maybe we play it. Maybe we play it on another podcast. I don't know. Your thoughts, Tim, on maintaining passions?
So I've had a lot of passions throughout life, and I've had a lot of passions fall out throughout life. And um, I think with passion, you get to continue to appreciate what you're going for, because as soon as you stop appreciating people, passion, things that you do, you oftentimes get comfortable and used to it. And I don't think comfortability doesn't have to be a bad thing, but with comfortability, oftentimes people get lazy. And so when you get lazy for your passions, you stop opening the car door for your significant other, or you stop doing the small things, the things that made that person initially fall in love with you. Um, when you stop doing those things, the passion tends to die off. And being someone who's been in elongated relationships, that's happened to me. And, I was talking to myself the other day and I was like, have I ever actually felt love? Like, have I actually ever been in love with somebody? And, I thought I did. I genuinely thought that I had loved these people because I was like, oh, I would do anything for them. But the universe has brought me away from those individuals. And obviously, I still have a care and deep love for them. Like, but it's not an in love feeling. It's a love for them, like I love people. I love the weather. I love food. Um, and so oftentimes I think a lot of people will stab themselves in the back to stop feeling certain types of passion. I actually wrote a poem yesterday. I'll read to you right now.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote a poem. I hadn't done it in a while, but it kind of is like how I'm feeling about a current situation. I cry and I scream out for a true feeling, a definable sentiment of spirit. My bleeding heart burns dutiful passion. Have I ever felt verifiable love? Do I possess the ability to undergo genuine intimacy? I'm petrified, horrified, even to express myself, for people may see me as I perceive myself. To love with no bounds, no limitation seems as a fairy tale to the author of my own story. How does one feel about relinquishing these walls placed up by agony and torment and personal reflecting? The sky of sapphire rains down upon me with the force of 1,000 suns, a real emotionalism. To burn in the sun seems as torture to most, but a fear of unrequited love shades me from some. For far too many demons have came hidden in the dead of night, but maybe it's time for me to give the illumination of daylight another go.
That's just awesome. For sure. Get that over to me. Like you
Yeah.
break that bad boy down into specific segments, specific pieces. Pretty profound, pretty significant, and very cool.
And so through that poem, I have a deep fear of love. I have this fear that I'm going to mess it up, that I haven't really loved, and so I don't know how to love. And a lot of people think that when you're with someone, they give you love and you give it back, but the love comes from within. And so the love comes from within, and they just teach you how to. Sorry, I got a weed whacker guy outside. They just teach you how to love, how to show love. And so I have this deep fear that I'm going to mess it all up, and I really don't want to do that. And it's one of those things, is a relearning experience. Is I've created a lot of these walls from within, and recently I just came out of what my generation calls a situationship. That everybody, I'm currently in the works of seeing somebody, a week later after I've dropped that situationship, and everybody's like, "You're moving really fast." Like, I know, I get it. And it's not that I'm moving fast, it's through that situationship, I have found what I want. And I that situationship was one of the few things that I have ended myself. I've never ended a relationship. I've never broken up with anybody. It's always been them doing it to me, because I don't give up on people. I don't. And so through that, I found out, like, this person was not it. And I almost fell into a very abusive relationship that could have put me on a path of destruction against myself and others around me. And so I'm very glad I got out of that situation. But through that, I found that I'm I want to love. I want to experience. I don't want to do all these things that my generation tells me I need to do, is seek around and fool around and be with a variety of partners, because love is dead a lot of nowadays. Like, a lot of people think that you need to experience life before you experience it with a partner. And I'm like, well, that's just really lame to me, because I want to experience a life with a partner. And if my future partner potentially sees me doing all of these things that are destroying me, and it could destroy a potential future with that partner. And so, through that situationship, I found that, like, I'm I know I'm young, but you got married at 19, and I'm not ready to settle down and get married. I've got a lot of work to do on myself, but I'm ready to settle down and find that partner that I'd like to spend the rest of my life with. Um and learn to love with them and be very open with them. Like, I've met someone and I'm expressing myself to them in ways that I haven't expressed myself to someone in a very long time, out of fear, out of being scared that they could use what I expressed to them against me, and you with that situationship, I expressed certain things to them that I hadn't in a while, and they used it against me, and that really hurt. It hurt because those things I wasn't ready to hear. It hurt because a lot of it was truthful. But through that, I kind of found out who I am as a person even more. Every day, I'm learning who I am. But I like the first day, I let this person know, like, hey, I want a really normal life in the future. Like, I want a normal wife. I want a normal life. I want children. And if these are things, I have these passions, these things that I want to do with my life, and I've got to work my absolute ass off for them. And if you're not willing to even process the idea of that at the initial start, then this just isn't going to work out. Um, and
See, I think, Tim, and that's a good point. I think that the challenge is that it's like building a house. And if you don't build it on a solid foundation, remember my international speaking coach, Linda Brakall, this was probably about 20 years ago. I called her and I said, Linda, I don't understand something. And she just laughed and she says, what don't you understand, Mark? I said, I don't understand how best-selling authors, of financial books have been bankrupt 3 times, and people who are best-selling authors in relationships have been divorced like 5 times. I don't understand that. And she laughed and she said, you're so naive, Mark. I said, I am. I don't understand. She said, see, the masses want to feel that you've been through what they've been through. I remember going to a group of men from a church, a bunch of guys hanging out, and there were probably, I don't know, 20, 30 men in the group. And we got together every week and hung out. And I went in and I said, I'm going to set up a rule for myself for the first 4 weeks. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to watch. And it was interesting because there were young men and there were older men. And I was, kind of in the middle-ish. And it was weird. I think I'd probably been married about 20 years at the time, I'm guessing. And there were men that had been married 40 or 50 years and some that, just a little while. And the conversation went to 2 or 3 guys that were in the midst of a divorce, or had, were in the just kind of in the early stages, I think one, and another one kind of mid stages, end stages. And it was interesting to me, all the people who shared had been men who went through divorces, and the ones who had been married for 30, 40, 50 years, they didn't say anything. And I thought, how strange people, human beings are, where we don't go ahead and what I'm told is how they study. How do you know if you go ahead and, counterfeit bill, you study the real thing. So there's a gentleman, Tim, that I was talking to. He's over 50, white male over 50. And I noticed that I perceived that he had low self-confidence. And I didn't want to say something, his wife there, my wife was there. So I didn't want to embarrass. I didn't want to say anything. I'm like, I don't know how well that's going to go. So I'm just not going to say it. But then after a little while, he just kind of came out and he said, one of my challenges is I have low self-confidence. I immediately thought, I said, that's the thing I was thinking. That's really cool. So I immediately thought more of him, not less. I thought more of him. And he said, and I don't know, we talked about friendship and stuff. And then all of a sudden he says, well, my concern or fear is that I'm going to share something with you that you would use against me, like you'd weaponize it against me. And I said, well, I want to help you build so much confidence that if I ever did that to you, you wouldn't care. Like, you wouldn't care. Like, he says, oh, I would really, really like that. So it's almost like, Tim, deep relationships. It's almost like lifelong relationships. Like there are some things, I met my wife at 18 years old, 17 years old. She was 17 and I was 18. We got married when she was 19 and I was 20. And there are certain things that we did in that relationship that I think helped us through, based on our oldest son's death and a bunch of other stuff. We have over an 85% chance of divorce. Like those are some pretty crazy odds. When I found that out, I'm like, I love those odds. Those are awesome odds. So, I mean, it's probably when you look at everything we've been through, we probably have over 97% chance of divorce. See, I think that a lot of those, I think a lot of the reasons we didn't go have divorce is because choices, boundaries, certain things that we did when we were friends, like we were best friends before we started dating. And then we started dating. And Linda Breakall, the same person, it was really cool. She said, relationships shift, and anytime you go into a new season in a relationship, all the rules change. And so when you're friends, you have certain rules. You don't even say the rules, you just know these are rules. Then when you start dating, rules change from friendship to dating, and then from dating to engagement, and engagement to marriage, and then marriage when you have children, and then children to teenagers, and then when your kids leave, then you're empty nesters. So my wife and I were, celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, and I look back on some of the foundations, some of the pylons that went deep into bedrock. And I'm like, man, like I thought these are pretty good things. I think these will be good. I think these are good principles. I never realized, no, they're not pretty good. They're absolutely critical. If we hadn't done those things, I don't think we'd be married today. And we're going to a concert tonight and staying overnight at a place. And I don't know. I mean, it's just amazing. Other thoughts, Tim? Great topic, great insight. Love the poem. Any other thoughts on it? On how do you maintain your passions?
I do have a question. Have you ever had to destroy a foundation while building the house to recreate the foundation?
Yeah, great question. I think that it's a complicated question or complicated answer. We often have to take 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward, which is that destroying the foundation? Maybe not, but principally, often we do have to, go backwards. When we were at 20 years in marriage, we were in family counseling, and the family counselor went ahead and said, I've never seen a family like yours. I mean, you guys have been hit. He said in 20, I think it's 24 years of practice and 3 PhDs in psychology and counseling. He said, I've never seen a family. He says, it's like, and he was a Christian, and he said, it's like the devil's trying to destroy, to kill literally everyone. And that was before the hard stuff came. Like he said, and the visualization I get is you guys are out in the ocean and you have 4 pylons going deep into the bedrock, and somebody sent 4 cruise missiles to wipe out. You guys are floating in the sea. Like they took out the pylons. And so I think another podcast, it would be interesting. It's a deep question. I don't know if I've destroyed any of the foundations, but I think others may have. And, everything that I was taught as a kid, grew up, believed up until I was 40 years old, practiced like crazy. And then all of a sudden everything changed, and everything was like, what in the world is going on? So not a good answer, but one that I'll think about, and we should have another podcast on. What do you think about that?
Um, I think it's about maintaining the foundation. Um, with maintenance, sometimes you have to take away certain parts of the foundation to rebuild upon them, without taking away the overall structure of the foundation. Um, and so like I've had to reset foundations in my life. I've had to completely wipe out almost everything that I've done in my life to get a hard reset to be able to continue living a beautiful life. I've been through I've been through a lot, and I don't think I've been through a lot because there's people who have been through worse. But I tell stories of my life like they're funny because they're funny to me.
Right.
Trying to be funny, and I'm explaining these things to, like, I was taught, like, me and this girl were hanging out. I got off work and I wasn't tired yet, so I was like, "Hey, can come hang out?" And we went for like a 2 3 hour drive, and just talked for hours. Or I talked for hours, and she just kind of sat there and stared at me. And like, I turned to look at her, and I was like, "I'm sorry, that must have been a lot." And she's got like tears overwhelmed in her eyes, and she's like, "I'm so sorry you've had to experience all that." And I'm like, "I'm not. Like, I'm really not. Like, I thought about the question a long time that if I would bring my brother back, um, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't bring John back because that was part of the rebuilding of the foundation of who I am. Is I would not be where I am today, who I am today, without him dying. Obviously, some of me is a masochist, but not all of me. Obviously, if I could bring him back and be who I am today, I would. But it's not a plausible possible possibility. Um,
And real
and
quick, just as like a bookmark highlight, I think that is true healing right there. What Tim just said is is the deepest healing you can have when you have something that significant and you say, you know, I wouldn't change it. I mean, obviously, if I could be who I am today and not have that happen, well, for sure I'd change it. But you can see the benefit that it brought, and almost almost the responsibility. Like it's almost like not only does Tim, not only does Mark have their own legacy, but Jonathan was a huge part of both of our legacies. And what in the world do you do with that? Well, that's probably, maybe, hopefully something that we'll come up with answers every day the rest of our life, but we'll never have it fully answered, which is okay. So, yeah, interesting podcast. Share it with others. There's going to be more that are going to be built on this. We'll go ahead and see if we get Tim to post his poem. Share this with others on social media, right? This is some pretty funky stuff. Like this is real. This is not contrived. It's not polished. It's not, it's real stuff. It's like, hey, this is something that hopefully can help others, to prevent others from going through some of the same pain and suffering that Tim has, or I have, or other people have. But if we've gone through what we've gone through, or worse, others, what others have gone through, it's okay. This is what we've gone through. And we're going to heal, and we're going to get stronger, because of it. So if you have any questions on anything we covered today, for sure, connect with the individual who invited you to participate, share it with a couple other people. You have any questions, again, connect with the individual who invited you, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the US 630-393-9909. Definitely join the Life GPS mobile app. There's some really cool. Up to you. Like with most podcasts, you can just be a spectator. If you want to be a spectator, be a spectator. Tim and I would prefer that you become an active participant, like engage with other people, on this topic. Because really together we can accomplish so much more than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.